The deadly collision wiped out the entire civilization and technology on Venus. The only survivors were 12 space-bound astronauts whose crippled ship crash-landed in the Atlantic Ocean off of Gibraltar on neighboring planet Earth. The astronauts found themselves cast back into the Stone Age with the daunting task of rebuilding their civilization and reinventing science. Like Leonardo da Vinci, masterpiece artist Sandro Botticelli was a member of the secret Priori of Zion Brotherhood. Like da Vinci, Botticelli coded and hid secret knowledge about our human origins into his work. In his painting, The Birth of Venus, Botticelli features the goddess Venus, who is the symbol of planet Venus. The half shell that she's standing in represents the shell-shaped spacecraft that landed in the ocean and was pushed ashore by the winds, which are illustrated at the left of the painting as angelic beings. Greek myth describes how Venus was born from the foam in the sea and taken ashore at Cyprus in the eastern Mediterranean. Cyprus in the eastern Mediterranean is precisely where the sunken island of Atlantis is located, says American researcher Robert Saramast. On a 6-day sea voyage, Saramast and his crew scanned the Mediterranean seabed 80 kilometers southeast of Cyprus using sonar imaging technology. They found the Acropolis and massive man-made structures that match Plato's description of Atlantis. Geologists who have studied the Mediterranean's layers of salt deposits claim that the Mediterranean Sea has dried up at least 5 or 6 times since antiquity. Today, all that remains of the sunken paradise island of Atlantis is a mountaintop, which we see today as the island of Cyprus. Mount Olympus stands today exactly where it stood in the Mediterranean dry bed when it was home to the Olympic gods from Venus.
There was this couple named Adam and Eve, and I believe they were the first people to live on the earth. And there was this fruit tree, and the Savior said not to eat any fruit from it, but I think they were tempted to eat the fruit, and well, I forget, but I know something bad happened.
Might I interest you in some fruit from this tree?
But this is forbidden fruit.
But it's delicious, and it'll make you smart.
Not today, thank you. Maybe some other time. La la la. Well, I do want to be smart. And I'm kind of hungry. So... Adam, come try this fruit. I can see it clearly now. I'm smart.
But we're not supposed to eat that fruit.
Well, there's no turning back now. You want to stick with me, don't you? Come on, Adam. We're going to see the world.
Well, sounds like a plan to me.
Here it is. Have some.
Ooh, that is good.
Adam, Eve. 'Eve.
Uh-oh.
I told you not to eat that fruit. 'Cause it was delicious. 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 'Cause it was Now I have to send you out of the garden.
We'll be back.
The Garden of Eden was not a mythical paradise. It was the fertile plain of Atlantis located in the Mediterranean dry bed. The word Eden comes from the Sumerian word meaning plain. Plato described Atlantis as a flourishing civilization populated by humans, gods, and demigods. Beyond the city lay a fertile plain 330 miles long, surrounded by majestic mountains dotted with villages, lakes, rivers, and meadows. The idea that flesh and blood, walking, talking gods live side by side with ancient humans is hard to swallow for some. Why? Because for thousands of years, we've been deeply indoctrinated with a religious belief in the existence of only one invisible, all-powerful God. For the Sumerians, cohabitation with human-like gods was an everyday reality. Greek mythology is really the disguised history of the ancient astronauts of Atlantis, who were described by the ancients as heavy, muscular, 8-foot-tall giants. They traveled at wondrous speeds and possessed immense weapons and supernatural powers, including the power to change frequencies and to appear and disappear. They loved, they sinned, they fought battles, and they had lifespans of hundreds of thousands of years. According to the Vedas of ancient India, the gods were all members of one large, but not necessarily peaceful family. Rivalries between family members split up the gods into two warring factions, the young Olympian gods and the older generation of Titan gods. After a fierce 10-year battle, the Olympians, led by Zeus and Poseidon, overthrew the Titans. Zeus seized the throne of power, but his younger half-brother Poseidon challenged his authority. To end the conflict, Zeus and Poseidon drew lots and divided the world between them. Poseidon, the serpent god, would rule Atlantis and the Atlantic region. Zeus would rule Lemuria and the Pacific region. The story of how the gods created humans is found in the Atrahasis epic, written in the 18th century BC. The epic was written on clay tablets and describes the toil of the lower gods digging canals and rebuilding a new civilization. After 3,600 years of hard labor, they threw down their tools and rebelled. The Council of Higher Gods met and decided that a slave race would be genetically engineered to do the labor for them. Enki was the Sumerian equivalent of the Greek god Poseidon, and conducted experiments with the most advanced species on Earth, apes and monkeys. The first hybrid slaves can be dated to around 200,000 BC, when Neanderthals first appeared on planet Earth. Neanderthals made their home in Gibraltar, where their remains have been discovered at 5 different sites. Unfortunately, the experimental Neanderthals proved to be far too aggressive a species and were driven to extinction 25,000 years ago. With further experimentation, the gods genetically engineered Cro-Magnon men, followed by a more docile and manageable race of divine monkeys, the Homo sapiens. For the past few decades, molecular biologists have been examining and mapping human DNA, which has 35,000 genes consisting of over 3 billion chemical bases. It turns out that 97% of our DNA is junk DNA with no known use or function. Failing any other explanation for this shocking revelation, scientists are now considering the notion that our genetic code was written by an extraterrestrial programmer who wrote 2 versions of our genetic code, a big code and a basic code. Our so-called junk DNA is a hidden and dormant upgrade of our basic code. It is a clever, self-organizing, auto-executing, auto-developing, and auto-correcting software with a built-in connection to the ageless energy and wisdom of the universe. In other words, the DNA that scientists have been calling junk DNA is really divine DNA.